On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to discuss this incredible story. It relates back to those blue lights you saw in New York City, which we talked about in the last episode, but it's dealing with the power grid and this incredible warning that was given by the group Anonymous that Q actually responded to, and we're going to talk about it right here. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, I always start by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you guys haven't hit that subscribe button, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications to be notified when these videos get posted. But today, here's where we're going to be picking up. It's Q post 2642 is where we left off, and we're basically going to be picking up from there. We haven't heard from Q since the 22nd, but as I said before, guys, I'm really expecting something on or around the turn of the new year, January 1st, where we're going to have all these executive orders going into effect, especially the executive order which rewrites the court martials and all that, the proceedings and systems that go into it. But that is something we'll have to wait and see. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about the power grid. Why are we talking about the power grid? Well, there's this incredible story that kind of comes from a Q post we had not too long ago. This is a post from Q back on December 12th. And it was during that Q&A session, so I kind of skipped over it to a degree because I didn't take the time to go and research this one in particular. But during the Q&A session that Q had over on the 8chan boards, there was a question that was posed by an Anon. Now, the question that was posed by the Anon is basically something we're going to talk about in a second. But before we do that, if you guys want to get caught up on everything that we've been covering here and what I'm going to be referencing a lot in this video, go back and watch this video first. It talks about those mysterious arc flashes that happen, the 911 outages with CenturyLink, and so much more that you're going to want to have kind of a background to what we're talking about. Go back as far as you want. If you want to get all this great information, this is a great video that has President Trump's speech, which has some pretty important messages in it. But if you're scratching your head going, what's QAnon and what's this guy talking about? Please come here and watch this video, which is what is QAnon the Great Awakening. It's going to answer all those questions. It's going to tell you what QAnon the Great Awakening basically is, how to get involved, where to find the information, how to do the research, all that great stuff. I encourage you guys to go check out that video and share it on your social media, as well as all of these other ones. But with that being said, let's go back here. Okay, so this whole story starts with this one question from an Anon. And an Anon asks, should we be prepping for some kind of shutdown? Q says, no. Reports of quote-unquote power grid attacks, 6-month prep should be disregarded. While attacks do occur, we are safeguarded by a quote-unquote black eye Q. So I kind of skimmed over this. I actually had asked you guys to help me kind of figure out what black eye is. And as far as I got back, black eye is some sort of the best theory that I got about it was that it was some sort of hacker collective that was put together by President Trump after he took office that was meant to be like white hats who protect the power grid, I guess. Now, there is so much nuance to this power grid safety issue that I want to kind of take it in steps, and I want to start by just focusing on this particular question. Now, what is this? Why was this question important? Why is it important that this question is being asked on this date, December 12th, 2018? Now, I've had a few great sources around that have pointed me in some good directions, and I think this is another good one. So let's start looking at this a little bit closer. So let's tie this all back into. First of all, let's go back and look at this. We have this video right here where I kind of explain. I show you the clips of the micro drones that look like they're over New York City before this arc flash happens. Watch this video if you want to see those images again. But that's an important place to start in thinking of what this power grid thing is all about. And it's going to go it's going to get pretty deep down the rabbit hole here. So you guys are going to want to stick around and listen. But this is where we're going to start. And so think of the date December 12th, 2018. Well, what was significant about that date for this question being posed and then answered? And it may not have even been answered in the way that you think it was answered, to be quite honest. So without being any more cryptic, let's start here. This was a video that was posted on the 11th, but basically it was dated the 12th of December 2018. So the same day that question was asked to Q, This video was posted. Now I'm presuming this video was posted slightly before that question was asked, and Q was responding to this video with that answer to that question. Now we're going to watch the important part of this video, which is from an anonymous group. I don't know who, because they're anonymous, but you know Anonymous, you know the guy Fox Mask, you guys know this group, you've heard their messages, I'm sure, before. Whether whatever you think of them is kind of unimportant to this point. What is important, though, is that you hear the first part of this message, and we're going to play a short clip. You guys listen to that, and then we're going to keep going here. We're going to keep discussing this.
Today's date is December 12, 2018. We have received credible information that leads us to believe with a very high degree of certainty that the US will come under attack, resulting in a nationwide blackout. The US Department of Homeland Security has just stated that Americans need to plan immediately for up to 6 months without electricity. The attack will be blamed on either China or Russia, but it will have been instigated from within the US. For over a year now, clues have been dropped by the elites and their mainstream media outlets of this happening.
Okay, so you guys heard that. Now let's go back and reconsider the context of this particular post from Q, where it talks about the reports of a power grid attack that would lead you to need to have a 6-month prep, right? Now, I still haven't figured out exactly what black eye is yet, although I've told you what my speculative guess is to this point. If that is in fact true, then that means that we're being protected, and that this was Q basically saying, don't worry about 6 months of prepping, right? Now, why is that important? Well, we're going to get into that in a little bit, but we're going to get into a few other points before we go even there. Now, there's a few other things you have to kind of note in your mind when you're thinking of this in context, contextually. Back on January 7, 2018, here's a good example where you actually have this confirmation from Q that there was a sky fortress that was engaged. Now, I know that can be taken a multitude of different ways, but if you think about it in the context of what we are guarding against in this country, as far as these major attacks, this could be a message that was basically coded and given in a way to signal that there is a new set of defense parameters that have been established to combat stuff like an EMP blast that would end up knocking out a lot of our power grid. This is a very real possibility. It's a threat that we have to be at least acknowledge and say, you know, we need to defend against that as a possibility, right? Especially as more and more actors around the world who are not the big players, but smaller actors get access to certain technologies that allow them to replicate those kind of damaging effects. So this is something that I think was very important. This was something that we were being pointed to for a reason. And of course it goes even further than that. If you go all the way back to what we were told. Do you guys remember? We had all these cryptic pictures of crates and these photos from China and factories of technology, laptops, cell phones, you kind of name it. And we were being shown it and giving the pictures of the Apple store in China. Well, what was that all leading us to? It was leading us to this, right? This is a quote from an article from Bloomberg, that came out, I think, around the same time as this post in October of 2018, that talks about a big hack from the Chinese. Now, what was that big hack? What was that big hack? It was the hack into our actual computers, drones, onboard networks of Navy ships, you name it, through these super micro chips that were basically implanted through manufacturer or through third parties inside of China overseeing, Communist Party officials who were overseeing manufacturing in China. They actually were able to implement these small devices, which actually allowed certain outside actors to be able to control or to basically manipulate systems in order to affect a negative outcome. So anyway, this is the super micro scam. You guys can go look it up. It's super micro. You guys can type it in. You'll find all the articles. But what I mean in bringing this up is look at what was said in that video, right? The anonymous collective, whatever that video was, whoever they were, were basically saying that there was going to be an attack on on our power grid. That's what the video said. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm saying that's what that video said. And then they basically made the insinuation that it was going to be blamed on Russia and China, right? But it was going to be, in fact, caused by some inside force here in this country. Now, why would anybody want to knock out our own power grid here inside of our own country? That's the question you have to ask yourself. I know it's a tough question to ask, and I know these aren't comfortable conversations to have, but ladies and gentlemen, I implore you, as citizens of this country or the world, would you not prefer peace and understanding of this evil that exists, people who want to do these kind of things, and tackling these issues by trying to understand them and confronting them head on? Or would you rather bury your head in the sand and pretend everything's great and go back to watching, viral videos of people, eating Tide Pods? I mean, look, this to me is an important issue that we have to confront head on. And it's just one of those things that as a citizen of this country and a citizen of the world, I just want to understand this better. And that brings us to the power grid. This brings us back to the power grid. Now, for this, we're going to start here. This is a story from PG&E in California, and this is back in September, where there was a helicopter that had clipped a few power lines and it triggered a fire, and there was this big story about it, but it ended up knocking out a lot of the power grid in this certain area out in the Napa County and Sonoma County area, and it started a fire, and it was this really big deal. You guys remember that? This was all around the time we were having a lot of huge fires out in California, and all of that was kind of happening in tandem with one another. But let's keep following this sequence of events, right? Now, in December, we have an investigation done by PG&E out in California. Now, PG&E is the actual, purveyor of energy in that area, and they actually found bullet holes in the power, the poles that are holding the power, and the power conduits and transfer units and transformers. They found bullet holes and damaged lines out there when they did their investigation out in December 12th of 2018, which was not more than a couple weeks ago. Now, what this investigation uncovered was that the Camp Fire cause investigation found that there was actually these actual incidents or evidence of this damage that was caused by bullet holes. Now, why is this important? I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but it's all going to tie together very quickly here. You just wait and see. So think about this. Back in September, we have this helicopter that starts a fire, it hits a power line, and now we're having an investigation out there where they're finding basically that they're bullet holes, and it's kind of a lot of really unexplained stuff. Now, keep that in mind and think about this. Here we go. This is a story that was underreported back from 2013, right? And I just found this on a blog here, but you guys can go look it up for yourself, because it talks about an incredible story. And I'm going to share the whole story with you because it's fairly short, and I'm going to read it to you because I think it's worth a read just to hear this. But it says, quote, "This wasn't some haphazard type attack." Well, I guess I should read the article. But it says, the title is San Jose Power Grid Attack. And it says, "This wasn't just some haphazard type attack from 4 or 5 guys drinking beer one night. Looks like it was a planned attack," unquote. "Someone dropped into an underground vault and cut phone cables, interrupting service to most of Gilroy. Then the snipers," this is apparently a real report, real story, "opened fire on the substation, shooting for 19 minutes. More than 100 fingerprint-free shell casings were found at the scene. They knocked out 17 transformers that supply power to Silicon Valley. When police arrived, they were gone. This news had been kept quiet since the incident last April, but now is being leaked out from several media outlets. ABC 7 News in San Francisco reported yesterday that the attack was downplayed as vandalism during the time immediately following the attack at the Metcalf substation just south of San Jose, California. The Wall Street Journal just reported, quote, "This was an event that was well thought out, well planned, and they targeted certain components," said, or quote, unquote, said Mark Johnson, retired vice president of transmission for PG&E. The attack began just before 1 a.m. on April 16th last year, 2013, when someone slipped into an underground vault and cut cables, which knocked out local 911 service, cell phone service, and landline service to the substation. Within half an hour, snipers opened fire on Metcalf Electrical Substation, firing more than 100 rounds, shooting for 19 minutes as they surgically knocked out 17 giant transformers that funnel power to Silicon Valley. It took utility workers 27 days to make repairs and bring the substation back to life. Quote, "It is an incident in which few Americans are aware, but one former federal regulator is calling it a terrorist act that, if it were widely replicated across the country, could take down the U.S. electric grid and black out much of the country. The attack was, quote, the most significant incident of domestic terrorism involving the grid that has ever occurred, unquote, in the U.S., said John Willinghoff, who was the chairman of Federal Energy Regulatory Commission at the time. And this is a quote from the Wall Street Journal, apparently from 2014. It says, quote, "These were not amateurs taking pot shots. Mark Johnson said during a conference on grid security held in Philadelphia last year, my personal view is that this was a dress rehearsal for future attacks. It says, there are ways that a very few number of actors with very rudimentary equipment could take down large portions of our grid." So this, to me, guys, is a story you have to look in context back on these stories that are being reported, right? And understand that there is just this possibility that exists out there, that there's more to what's going on than you may understand, okay? And that information is what we are coming here to seek out. We're just doing our own investigatory work and trying to find the truth. So that's something you have to keep in mind. Now, what does PG&E and all of this have to do with anything? Well, they are related to a company. Now, what company is that? It's this company here, Premise, okay? Okay, so this is what we were talking about in the last episode. Like I said, guys, this episode right here, we were talking about it. But Premise is this company that was basically co-run by David Soloff and others. And it's out of San Francisco. It's a basically data and analytics technology company. And this is very interesting to look at what this company has been into. And in order to kind of to explain how it all connects, I'm going to read this article which talks about basically Julian Assange and this story that came out back in October of 2016 where they were trying to basically frame him in some sort of weird pedophilia accusations. But let's read through this story because I think it's worth the time to read through it. It says the investigation was sparked after WikiLeaks released a series of tweets on Monday outlining an elaborate plot by a dating website currently attempting to frame and smear Assange. Right? It says a front has released through U.S. Democratic media an elaborate story accusing Julian Assange of pedophilia and taking $1 million from Russia. And of course, it gives links to it and it shows you all of that. It says WikiLeaks also linked to a detailed timeline with documents proving his innocence and exposing the dating website as a shell company purportedly created to entrap him. Right? And it gives the tweet there. And it says this website is called Todd and Claire. The dating website leveling the accusation against Assange has been proven fake. It has been exposed as a shell company set up as a front to launch the smear campaign against Assange. Everything about the site is fake. They have no real numbers, and they go into the details there. And then it says, smelling a rat, the internet got involved. Redditors began to dig into the case and uncovered what they believe is a smoking gun linked to linking the failed pedophile smear campaign to people with close personal and professional ties to the Clintons. So they used the Internet Wayback Machine, and they went and found that this Todd and Claire's website address was actually linked and had the exact same address as this company, Premise Data Corporation. So this is the connection. Now here's David Soloff posing with Hillary Clinton, and of course the tweet says here that he met with Tim Kaine, who was Hillary Clinton's running mate for vice president, for an hour, right? And this was the tweet we were talking about last time in the last video, where this guy was making the comment to somebody who had confronted him that they could control the drones, that they were sending them to his house. So that was what this connection is. But when you keep reading through this article, it talks about how Bremis Data's links to the Clintons don't stop there. Lawrence H. Summers, who served as 71st Secretary of the Treasury under President Clinton, is a director of the company. He was also director of the National Economic Council under President Obama. This is the same Larry Summers who also works at the Center for American Progress, a George Soros-funded super PAC. He is also on record emailing John Podesta, the chairman of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. So they put together this graphic, but it says the more the Redditors dug, the more links to the Clintons' campaign they uncovered. Premise Data's VP of Growth and People Operations, Joanna Lee Shavelenko, is married to Russian software developer Dmitry Shavelenko, who it is claimed worked for Hillary Clinton's State Department. The original phone number listed by fake dating site Todd and Claire even matches the Premise Data phone number. So they go on to say, is it a coincidence? Is it real? Is it not? These things could be coincidences. They could not be. But this is the story that I think ties a lot of what we were just talking about here together. Now, I'm going to leave this to you guys to put together. I'm not going to tell you what to think. But consider this. If there was an attempt to try to affect our own power grid, and then it's being suggested that it's not going to be coming from an outside, a foreign power or something, or an outside actor, then why would they want to be doing it here on our own soil? That's really the question you have to ask yourself. And this kind of just goes on. There's a tweet here, goes on to kind of confirm and explain how the Podesta emails are all connected to Premise, right? So here you have this actual Podesta email from this guy named Christopher Kirchhoff, who's writing to John Podesta, who's talking about how they've basically decided they've become finalists in this new Pentagon Silicon Valley office, which is going to be called the Defense Innovation Unit X, right? And then it goes on to show here that this Salman Ahmed, who is actually noted in that email, is basically working for Susan Rice, right? That's what it said here. And then so obviously there's that connection to Susan Rice. And then it goes on to note that one of the main advisors on this Premise company is Raj Shah. Now, who is Raj Shah? Obviously, Raj Shah here is another member of that Defense Initiative Unit Experimental, basically the Pentagon Silicon Valley office. So, and then who else is he there with? The guy writing the email to John Podesta himself there, Chris Kirchhoff. So, guys, they're all in it together in this seemingly nefarious set of coincidences. But as I said, I'll leave this all to you guys, and I'll leave links to everything that we covered here pretty much in the comments. And I want to hear your thoughts on it. I want to hear what you guys have to say, and let me know. You guys are doing the research too with me, so leave your thoughts down in the comments. I want to hear what you have to say. This is another very disturbing story. This is a story coming out today about how this computer virus has hit newspapers coast to coast, and it's affecting how they're going to be printing and delivering the Sunday newspapers. Well, look, I don't know what to say about this. It looks quite suspicious. I'm going to withhold my comment until after some more facts are put out there, but I got to say it looks very suspiciously timed, and this could end up making into a much bigger thing, but we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening with that. Now, before we get out of here, I have a few things. First of all, thank you guys for coming. If you guys haven't hit that subscribe button, now's a great time to do it. Come here, click the big red subscribe button. Also, watch these videos, share them on your social media, and I want to hear your thoughts. So leave your thoughts, theories, and insights down in the comments. I want to hear what you guys have to think about all this. But I really want to hear what your thought is on this Defense Innovation Unit X, the Pentagon Silicon Valley, or the Pentagon Silicon Valley office. Also, I want to hear what your thoughts are on the power grid and everything we talked about earlier in the video, and just your thoughts in general about everything that's going on. So I definitely look forward to hearing that. Now, a couple other ways you can help the channel. Obviously, financially, you guys can help out because demonetization is real. And yes, that does happen regularly to all the content So if you guys can, please come here to Patreon. That's patreon.com. Search Just Informed Talk. Click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation. You can set it and forget it and know you're helping create this content on a regular basis. And I have to say thank you to everybody who does help there. Also, I set up a GoFundMe page if you guys don't want to do the monthly thing. It's very much appreciated. It helps this channel keep going in the face of demonetization. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So all you have to do is go to GoFundMe or go to Patreon, and links will be in the description to both of these sites. Also, another way you can help out the channel, come over here and find me on Twitter at Justin_formed. Of course, JustinFormed Talk on Twitter, where you can get all of my tweets. I'm always putting new tweets out. Like I said, I'm trying to work more and more on getting the information out there, but and becoming more active on the tweeting. And so I really want you guys to come check this out at Justin_formed on Twitter. You can come find me and give me a follow, and I really appreciate it. Don't forget also to check out JustinFormedNews.com, a great resource for headlines and links to the QAnon websites, where to find that information, links to news websites, where to get started if you're trying to basically find some different information that's not mainstream media. That's a good place to start. So I always encourage everybody to come check that out as well. Now that that's all done, I want to talk about the most important thing, which is the end of each of these episodes. We do a segment called God's Grace is Greater, and we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for that, I always like to read scripture. And in this episode, we're not going to deviate far from that path. I want to talk about the incredible thankfulness that is in my heart for the blessings that the Lord gives me every day. I put my life to God every day. That's why there's a lot of ups and downs when you do what I do. There's a lot of ups and downs in life. It doesn't matter who you are, really. But every time I hit an up or a down, I say, you know what? If I'm really successful, I say I put my life to God. If I'm not doing that great, I put my life to God. And that, to me, is what we have to strive for, is putting our lives to God. And an easy way to do that is to understand that we have to praise the Lord for his incredible works that he's done on this earth. And for that, I want to read this piece of scripture, which I think is going to speak to your hearts, I hope, as much as it has mine. It's from Psalms, of course, Psalm 111, and we're going to read the whole psalm, because it talks about praising the Lord for his works. So it says, "Hallelujah, I will praise the Lord with all my heart in the assembly of the upright and in the congregation. The Lord's works are great, studied by all who delight in them. All that he does is splendid and majestic. His righteousness endures forever. He has caused his wonderful works to be remembered. The Lord is gracious and compassionate. He has provided food for those who fear him. He remembers his covenant forever. He has shown his people the power of his works by giving them the inheritance of the nations. The works of his hands are truth and justice. All his instructions are trustworthy. They are established forever and ever, enacted in truth and uprightness. He has sent redemption to his people. He has ordained his covenant forever. His name is holy and awe-inspiring. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. All who follow his instructions have good insight. His praise endures forever." And yeah, I mean, those words to me are words to live by. To understand that putting your life in God's hands is the way to go, and understanding that fearing the Lord is the beginning of receiving true wisdom, and understanding that when you follow his instructions, you will have good insight, and that the praise that you can give him will endure forever. So remember, when you're out there in the world, that no matter what difficulties or blessings that you encounter, whether it's good or bad or indifferent, I always tell you to look to God, because that's what I say in my life. I work hard. I take responsibility for my actions. I love God. I pray. I go to church. I do everything I can to be a good man for the world, and most importantly for God. And in doing that, I know that by putting my life to God and saying, "My life's in your hands, God. Everything I do is according to your will," that I will be blessed and rewarded with the courage and wisdom and strength that God can sow inside of our own hearts, and he can do it for you too. So I'm encouraging you all to go out and take that attitude with everything that you do in this world, because it's going to pay its dividends, and God is always there for you, always waiting. You're just one prayer away from opening that relationship back up, and I always encourage everyone to go and do that. So that is going to be it for this episode. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you guys haven't hit that subscribe button, now's a great time to do it. Come here, click the big red subscribe button. But that's going to be it for me. This has been Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.